So the wild thing with the Magic is you could talk me into them being the 3rd seed, you could talk me into them being the 7th seed, because they're not the most exciting team in the league when you go down the roster, but they just kind of do things right. I mean, Steve Clifford, this is his thing as a head coach. He's very good at making his team not be stupid in terms of fouls, defensive rebound percentage, turnovers, just all those little things that we forget about but really make a difference in how many games your team wins. So I'm expecting Orlando to at least repeat a lot of those things this upcoming season. The other thing, though, is can they still be a really good defensive team? Because for the year, they finished top 10, and they were a lot better the last, whatever it would be, the last, 2 months or so, as they really climbed out of a hole where they were 9 games below 500. So I guess I have to ask, was that a fluke? And really what I'm saying is, can you continue to be a really good defense with Vucevic as your starting center? I mean, I don't think Vucevic is terrible. Is he in that Brook Lopez area of centers where you think he's bad defensively, but then you're actually watching him and it's it's actually not that bad. It's good enough to get by, assuming the system makes sense and that the defensive talent around him is there. And with this Orlando team, I think it is. I mean, Isaac, everybody sees the defensive potential that guy has. Aaron Gordon, you could argue, has been a tiny bit of a disappointment defensively, but even so, he's a big dude who can defend a few positions. And similar to Isaac, I would expect Gordon to keep getting a little better there. And an interesting thing, the Magic did kind of double down on this with some of their signings, specifically Aminu, which I think a lot of people, including me, had a moment of wait, really? You guys are signing Aminu? I feel like you guys need more shooting and more dudes who can make shots, and, well, that's the same thing, but whatever. But I guess if you're really committed to just defense-first wings with some size, then Aminu definitely fits the bill. And I think Orlando has earned the trust of them just being really good on defense. I'm not going to be surprised if they're one of the 10 best defensive teams again. And also with Markelle Fultz, and I know there's many things to be said about him, but he's a big dude. He's 6'4" with a pretty big wingspan. 6'9" to be exact, and I mean, there's a chance that he's just so bad on offense that you can't really play him, but I do want to at least mention, Markelle can be a real defensive player, so I think it's fair for Orlando to have a baseline of probably 38 or 39 wins just off the strength of their defense, and Steve Clifford coach teams just don't do anything stupid, as I've said before. But of course, there's the offense, and part of me is scared that Vucevic just had one really good season, and he's going to fall back down to the 16, 17 point dude who you keep on wanting more from. And I think a lot of it comes down to his shooting. I mean, he took 3 threes and he shot 36%. Is that enough for me to be oh yeah, this dude is now going to be taking 4 to 5 a game at that percentage? I mean, I don't know. I mean, he's been a very good mid-range shooter throughout his whole career, so that's encouraging. But I don't know. Also, the thing with Vucevic that's weird is he's never really been a guy to shoot free throws. So to me, that just kind of suggests he might have just had a hot 80 games, and he's just not going to be able to make shot after shot after shot to get to the 21 points a game that he put up this previous season. Now, if he was going to attempt 7 or 8 free throws a game, then okay, you could talk me into it. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I'm a little skeptical that he's going to do it again. Now, what would be interesting is if Markelle Fultz can really get playing time, then he would be the most dynamic playmaker, potentially even the only one that this team has. I mean, DJ Augustine has been nice, but he's DJ Augustine. So if Markelle could bust out some pick and rolls, pick and pops with Vucevic, that could be something. You might have to get pretty creative with where you actually run them, because if you run them at the top of the key, I think teams are just going to dare Markelle to do anything outside of the paint, and that's a whole vibe. But if he can beat defenders off the dribble and not even need a screen, Vucevic can certainly get some jumpers off of that. So, I don't know. I mean, basically, I'm just not convinced that Vucevic is this new guy just yet. And he's probably their best offensive player. Because, with Gordon, there is still a world where Aaron Gordon just comes out of nowhere and averages like 19 a game of just doing the things that he's always wanted to do and just finally having it all come together, where he's making open threes, he's killing it on fast breaks, alley-oops, offensive rebounds, cuts to the basket, but then he's also doing a bit more with his handle. I mean, we saw the jump that Siakam made. Aaron Gordon's been a good ball handler for a while, and he's certainly got the physicality to push dudes out of the way. And I say 19 points a game. I mean, the dude averaged 18 basically 2 years ago, and Aaron Gordon continues to be just this very interesting player where I feel like, the thing that Orlando did too much after they traded Dwight was giving up on guys, right? Oladipo, Tobias Harris. Gordon might be one of those guys where you might have to wait a little longer than you'd really like to, but it's going to really pay off. And they already I say kinda because the money they gave him was not through the roof, but they did commit to him in terms of years. So I do think they're kind of in it for the long haul on Gordon, unless some crazy trade offer just shows up. I mean, I guess there is a world where if these guys could get a real perimeter dude, whoever it might be, I don't know, and they'd have to move Gordon, but you keep Isaac, and Isaac looks really good, that could be a thing. And now I guess we can get to Jonathan Isaac now. And just, I've said this before, I'll say it again. I like Jonathan Isaac the most on this whole team, even if right now Aaron Gordon's a better player, at least up to this point. I wouldn't be surprised if Isaac was better than him this season, but the thing with Isaac is I don't know how much of that's just going to come from putting up points on the board. I think it's mainly going to come from him averaging a crap ton of rebounds, being an awesome defender, and just kind of figuring things out on offense. Now, even so, like 33% on 3 attempts a game while having pretty okay form, I would say. It's a start. These are things I've said before with Isaac. I mean, if we're assuming the starting 5 is Augustine, Fournier, Gordon, Isaac, Vucevic, with Vucevic, Fournier, and Gordon, and maybe even Augustine taking more shots than Isaac, I wouldn't really be shocked if Isaac only averages like 12, 13 points a game this year, something like that. But the impact is just huge, I mean, hell, if you really wanted to double down on Isaac is that good right now, the dude played 27 games his rookie season, and the team wasn't very good. He plays 75 this previous year, and they take a massive jump defensively. Now, part of that was also Steve Clifford, no doubt, but I'm just saying, Isaac, he's pretty good. As for Mo Bamba, I mean, I did a whole video on it. Still same thing. I mean, I guess if I believe that Vucevic is not that all-star, which I guess I'm basically going out on a limb and just saying I don't think Vucevic is as good as he was last season. Just, there you go. Then I guess that opens the door more for Bamba. But even with that being said, Vucevic is way better than Bamba right now, okay? So, I guess that one's just going to be a keep on keeping on with the development and all that. As far as any other interesting things, I mean, you could argue that Fournier was disappointing through stretches of last year. I mean, his shooting splits for the season never really got to where you'd think they would, because throughout his career he's been one of the better shooters in the league. He had a true shooting of 53.5% this previous year, whereas for his career that's been like a lot higher. His average is like 56 for his career, so there's a chance he just bounces back and is a really good shooter for these guys, which could help them out on offense a bit. I mean, I don't know, I guess where I end up on them, there's like 5 teams in the East who are probably going to win like 45 games. And I guess we can put Orlando into that. I mean, like the 3rd through 8th seed, the difference is probably going to be like 4 games, with the 3rd seed winning 49 and the 7th winning like, well, I guess 4 would be 45, but, you know, give or take a little bit. And Orlando is going to fall somewhere in all of that.